Hi, I'm Mark and this is Foothill Paint Fabrication. This channel is dedicated to the do-it-yourselfer at home in his garage or shop or even his driveway that wants to paint his own car, maybe do some modifications to it or even fabricate some stuff. I've been painting cars since I was in my teens. My friends and I used to get our cars prepped and then a local body shop would spray them for us, and then it evolved into me doing more and more work and then painting myself. I had a shop for a minute, just a little while. But having it as a hobby is a lot more fun than doing it as a business. So I've recently got a lot more time on my hands, so I'm able to start on my own projects and so instead of others. So this is my 1967 GTO here. I've had it since my late teens. It hasn't been on the road since 1995, which is really sad. But life got in the way and other people's projects. I've done a lot of cars since this car sat, but it's time to get onto my own stuff. So I'm going to focus mainly on the GTO here in a multi-part series over 2 years, maybe a year. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's going to be a frame-off restoration. And I'm excited to get going on it. I know my friends are probably getting sick of hearing me talk about, yeah, I'm going to get started on it. But now I really am. First things first though, the shop needs a lot of cleaning, some repairs to the walls, paint. We're going to upgrade the LED lighting. The compressor cabinet needs some work and some modifications. And then I've got a couple of small projects that I had promised some people I would get to before I can really jump into the GTO. So let's get started on cleaning the shop out and getting it ready to do some real work. All right, before we get started, I wanted to show you the shop. You can see it's partially in the ground here in the slope. I've done a fair amount of work. I redid the roof and added rain gutters and some concrete work around it to help the drainage. Stopped all the water intrusion that was coming through the walls. And it's been through one good rainy season and haven't had any issues at all. So it looks like that is taking care of that problem. So as we do all the work inside to improve the shop, it won't be damaged again and should have a nice, clean, dry shop to work from. So let's get the door open and start cleaning this shop out. Okay, first things first, let's get the shop cleaned out. Got a rack over here on the side, holds steel on top and some of the other stuff. I got seats over here in the corner that go to the GTO. These happen to be off a 2005 Pontiac GTO. They fit the car well and I like them. They're a lot more comfortable than obviously the originals. I got some fenders here and running boards off a old Chevy pickup. I promised a guy to help out with that project. And then over here you can see the compressor cabinet. That's going to get torn apart and redone. It received some water damage. And then my bench, the toolbox, and that's my paint storage cabinet, as well as the lighting. We're going to be upgrading the lighting to LED. Some of these I upgraded to T8s a few years ago from T12s. So we'll be switching out as many as I have. I forget how many I bought. And then also the fluorescent lights on the wall will be upgraded to LEDs as well. So let's get started. Okay, the last thing to do to get out of here before this rack of steel here is the compressor cabinet. Maybe I'll take the steel down first so I'll have some room. But this compressor is, I've had it 30 years, 25 years. 60 gallon, 5 horsepower, double bus, oilless. So there is no crankcase. The motor turns the compressor and it's all sealed bearings. There's no crankcase with oil in it. So it's perfect for painting cars, but they are extremely loud. This one is so loud, that's why it's in this cabinet. Not to mention it can't, it has to be sealed off if it's inside the shop so it doesn't inhale spray or dust or anything else and ruin it. So I'm going to turn it on real quick so you can see how loud it is and you know why it's behind the cabinet. We're going to do an upgrade on this cabinet. It's received some water damage down here, like I spoke of, from the wall and the floor getting wet. So we're going to tear this apart. I got a new sheet of MDF to make it and some styrofoam, hopefully to quiet it down a little bit. So let's go ahead and turn it on. You'll see what I'm talking about. Now the door helps a little bit, but not a lot. So I'm hoping to get that to quiet down a little bit more. If not, it's just something I have to live with. Putting it outside is not an option. The house is right behind. The pool is over there, and it's just, there's no place to put it outside. So not to mention, I don't want my neighbors listening to it at 8 o'clock at night when I'm in here working away. So it's going to stay in this corner. But we're going to do our best to get it to quiet down a little bit, and also needs a little bit of service, probably cleaning, and then some other work inside the cabinet. So let's get this steel moved so we can take this cabinet apart. Okay, so the Racco steel, this is all the long steel. These are all 10, 15, 20 footers. I built this rack on the wall years ago to hold all this stuff because, as you know, you buy it in bulk and you use what you want, then it just gets in the way. So we're going to have to get all this stuff out of the shop and on the ground outside and or somewhere. We'll throw some blocks on the ground and drag it out there. I'm going to grab a pair of gloves and we're going to get after it here. Okay, let's finish getting this compressor cabinet open and out. All right, the drain's off. Should be able to get this away from it. Tight fit right here. There we go. Barely fits. Bring you in closer to look at the cabinet and the compressor. Fairly simple. There's a couple of steel studs anchored to the wall. And then the compressor with a hose. You can see I use PVC airline along the wall. This is rated for 600 PSI. I don't recommend it. You should use steel, but plastic works best to keep rust and moisture out. So that's what I use, and it's simple. If you do choose it, it's at your own risk. If you hit it with a hammer or something, it could explode and drive projectiles into your face. So that's not something you want. You see there's a fresh air blower right here. It's wired in. This is actually off of not a computer, but off a air hockey game. Runs on 110. It's wired over here to the switch, and it blows air, fresh air from the outside directly onto the compressor, and then it keeps it cool at the same time because it does get hot in there. That compressor produces quite a bit of heat, and you don't want it overheating and right in the middle of a paint job. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some maintenance on the compressor and then start pressure washing these walls because they are really bad. You can see a lot of the effervescence and the damage, spilled paint, and some other things. So we want to get it all cleaned up and get everything ready and start from scratch. Then we can get the new lights in. All right, it's time to get dirty. Okay, time to get wet and dirty. This isn't going to be fun, but hopefully it won't go too bad. Be able to blast those walls off, get them cleaned up. But first, I need to shut the electricity off. All right, power should be off. We're good to go. Okay, time for the foam cannon. Okay, let's get this thing dried off a little bit and then let it sit. Okay, that's it. Just gotta let it dry and start on the lights. Okay, that about wraps up this video. It's getting a little long, so there will be a part 1 and part 2. Part 2, we'll go ahead and get started on the lights, patching the walls, painting, working on the compressor cabinet, and getting everything moved back in and getting this thing finished off. So thanks for joining me here at Foothill Paint and Fabrication. Hope to see you here again.